This is Kathy Beal of EmpowermentUnlimited.net with Astro-Insight for the 2020 Cancer New Moon Solar Eclipse. The new moon takes place on June 20th or 21st, 2020 at 11:41 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 2:41 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 6:41 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, at 0 degrees Cancer, 21 minutes. June's Cancer New Moon is a milestone, far-reaching event. It's more than the launch of a lunar phase and more than the launch of a calendar season. It's a process with the ferocity and no-going-back finality of labor and childbirth. It's translating the intensity of the past 3 years into fuel for a prolonged explosion of emotional energy. It's pulling up roots from the past, from our families and ancestral lines, and from ourselves even, and launching a months-long journey into new ways of being. It's not a straight shot or smooth sailing by any means. The path requires adjustment from the start, but carries the potential for personal empowerment and healing. This month's new moon is a solar eclipse on the solstice, on the world axis, at the very raw and very first degree of the most sensitive, emotional, and sentimental sign in the sky. All of those characteristics make it larger than life and non-rational to an extreme. The moon's in her home sign, and the event is stirring matters that are near and dear to our hearts, not to mention our definitions and experience of home, safety, security, nourishment, and belonging. Many of these concepts are primal and cellular, and locked into our beings before our brains were fully formed and not yet capable of conscious, rational thought. Themes include the life-giving and nurturing power of the feminine, mommy and children, inner and in the flesh, and including who gets to be the mommy and who the baby. Also in the mix, relationships to or with relatives, how we define family, country, and tribes, and allocations of power and responsibility within these units. And let's not forget the role of food. Does it fuel your body or something else? Is it comfort, an expression of love? Not to mention traditions and other security blankets. All of these have come up for revisiting and massive restructuring during the Cancer-Capricorn eclipses of the past 2+ years. That process has had a huge and relentless assist from 3 titans working over the late degrees of Capricorn: Taskmaster Saturn, Lord of Rules and Order, expansive Jupiter, and Pluto, Lord of Death and Regeneration. Making your own nurturing a priority has been an imperative as the eclipse cycle took the North Node back through the sign of Cancer. We're now reaching the end of that review and reset. This new moon is the next to last eclipse in the cycle. It's shoving us irrevocably into a rebirth canal, while cleanup work is coming with next month's Capricorn lunar eclipse, the last event in this cycle. Both spell endings and departures. As a solar eclipse shoots us forward, it inevitably shoots us out of and away from people and situations that are not coming along. Connections that have been sufficiently stressed will not survive. Some developments will come as an utter surprise, but ultimately prove liberating, therapeutic, and empowering, thanks to an exact semisextile between Changemaker Uranus and Chiron, agent of healing. And then, of course, comes the new regime, an upgrade, to be hoped, rolling out over the next 6 months or so. Adjustments are part of the mix and not necessarily gentle. The imperative for emotional expression, for nurturing and caretaking, and for home building is being tweaked by separations, community, and future-oriented visions, and the lingering conundrum of how to stay connected amid social distancing and shutdown. The competing interests are not flowing easily at all. This need for realignment results from the new moon's exact inconjunct to Saturn, retrograde in Aquarius, and 2 weeks out from returning to Capricorn for his cleanup tour. Other influences invite wrapping up, moving on from, or obliterating the past as well. The eclipse occurs with 5 planets retrograde, an emphasis that turns us backward and inward. Mercury is early in retreat mode, also in Cancer, heightening the sensitivity, emotionality, and nostalgia of a new moon in Cancer. Venus, ruler of relationships, money, and creativity, is retrograde in Gemini, whipping up awareness of and info concerning past loves, diversions, and entertainment. Together they raise a question that pours directly into the new moon. What feeds your heart? The question morphs into whether or how much of that is an illusion next week. Venus turns around on the 25th and passes the baton to Neptune, her higher counterpart in the realm of love and inspiration, when he retrogrades on June 23rd. There's incentive to do a lot more, though, than ponder, navel gaze, and watch movies daubing our eyes with tissues. Mars, planet of push, is in an exact opportunity aspect to two of the retrograde giants and perpetrators of the year's monumental character, Jupiter and Pluto. His link provides an opening to do something about what they've been up to since spring, amplifying the evolutionary restructuring of our foundations and institutions, as well as exposing decay, corruption, and horrors that have lurked below the surface. As they lumber toward the second of the three conjunctions they'll make this year, exact June 30th, watch for nudges, coincidences, and heaven-sent marching orders addressing their work. The real excitement, however, comes once Mars enters Aries on June 27th and activates the degree of the eclipse. His strike will be felt all over the planet because the first degree of any cardinal sign is on the world axis, a potent location that not only marks shifts in the calendar, but also affects global and collective events. Mars is both a trigger and a timer. Think time bomb going off, setting off events that major aspects have seeded. Expect him to motivate, provoke, and inflame eclipse developments, an early warning sign of the push he'll unleash when he begins squaring Jupiter and Pluto and January's Saturn-Pluto conjunction degree in August. In the meantime, keep an eye on these areas ripe for change. Willingness to take care of our basic needs before tending to people who rely on us. Mommy's day out is a way of life, even for the childless. Taking greater responsibility for our food supply, small home gardens, patronizing local sources, trading goods in your community. Intergenerational power dynamics. Watch for elders passing the mantle to those a generation or two behind, or those behind grabbing the mantle. Relationships to authority, to government, to the masculine-dominated powers that be. You can learn more about what's coming in my talk about the June 2020 eclipse. Look for the link below. It's also on the top page of my site, empowermentunlimited.net, where you can sign up for my mailing list, read my forecast for June, listen to my weekly podcasts, and book a session with me. I'm Kathy Beal, a professional astrologer with more than 30 years' experience. You'll find lots of bonus content at patreon.com/Kathy Beal. And I'm really grateful to the people who are sticking with me there and supporting my work so that these forecasts can remain freely available. I have lots of lively discussion on Facebook at Empowerment Unlimited in the group The Astro-Insight Lounge. I post all kinds of stuff on Instagram at @KABeal, and I'm on YouTube at The Professional Aquarian Channel.